Jessica knew something was off the moment she saw the email subject line. CEO sync 11:30 a.m. mandatory. No context, no invite list. Just her name, the time, and the unsettling knowledge that Dave, her director, corporate buzzword vending machine, and human embodiment of a midlife crisis, was CC'd. She wasn't scared. She didn't get scared. Jessica had been through layoffs, mergers, and one particularly unhinged intern who tried to push Jira tickets into a spreadsheet to make them more agile. She was a senior manager with 5 product launches under her belt and enough blackmail material from off-the-record meetings to kill at least 3 careers if she ever wanted to go nuclear. But this was different. The CEO's office had that sterile, over-air-conditioned tension only found in expensive rooms designed to feel powerful. Jessica sat down across from the glass desk, hands on her lap. Dave was already there, grinning like he'd won something. The CEO, a two-tanned man in his 50s who once compared layoffs to pruning a bonsai tree, opened with, "Jessica, your work on Phoenix has been extraordinary. You've outperformed expectations, inspired your team, and frankly, you're the kind of leader we need steering us into new terrain." Jessica blinked. Compliments in this building always came with paperwork or a knife. "That's why we're promoting you to lead Project Nightingale. It's a sensitive initiative, high innovation, high trust, very forward-facing." Dave leaned forward, that smug smile tightening. "We handpicked you for this. It's a once-in-a-career opportunity." She managed a professional smile, nodding while trying to decode the pitch. Nightingale, she hadn't heard a whisper. No dev brief, no strategy deck, nothing in quarterly roadmap talks. Still, part of her wanted to believe it, to feel the pride. Maybe she was finally getting the recognition she'd earned. Maybe it was real. She was led down the hall to her new office, which turned out to be a glorified storage closet on a disused floor, repainted just enough to hide the fact that the building had forgotten it existed. Then came the kicker. Her badge stopped working on her old floor. She found out the hard way when she tried to swing by her team's morning stand-up and was locked out like a contractor. "Security measure," the receptionist shrugged when she asked. "Project Nightingale access only now." "Sorry, right, because designing PowerPoints in a closet required national security clearance." That's when it clicked. She wasn't being promoted. She was being boxed. Benched in a corner far enough from real influence but not quite fired. The kind of maneuver insecure leaders pull when they're too chicken shit to confront talent head-on. Dave didn't want her competing. He wanted her contained. Now, quick pause from the corporate circus. If you've read this far and felt even a flicker of oh hell no rising in your chest, I need you. I'm trying to hit my first 10,000 subscribers ever, and it would mean the world if you hit that subscribe button right now. It'll be helping me flip the bird to every Dave who ever sidelined someone with talent. Back in the fluorescent tomb she now called an office, Jessica sat at her loaner laptop and opened the blankest of blank Google Docs. No one had briefed her on goals. No one explained the timeline. The only resource was a shared folder with one document in it, a 4-line project charter that read like it was written by ChatGPT on Ambien. Stared at it for 10 minutes, then checked her calendar. Still blank, no invites, no syncs, no welcome to the team messages. That afternoon, she saw her old Teams update email go out with a new manager CC'd, some guy from finance who once asked if Java was like a Microsoft thing. Her name was scrubbed. No mention of her contributions, no handoff, just gone. She laughed out loud. It wasn't bitterness yet, just absurdity. She hadn't been exiled. She'd been gifted a padded cell with Wi-Fi, and she wasn't going to waste it. Jessica quickly learned the only thing high trust about Project Nightingale was how confidently they trusted her to rot in silence. The first week she waited, checked her inbox obsessively, hit refresh like some kind of corporate lab rat expecting pellets to fall from the sky. No kickoff meeting, no budget overview, no team roster, just the same lonely office and a drip feed of vague encouragement. "Hope you're settling in, big things ahead," Dave wrote on day 3, complete with a smiley face like they were middle school pen pals and not co-workers in a passive-aggressive hostage situation. She replied, asking about timelines, KPI, maybe a point of contact from engineering. Nothing. She tried looping in the CEO's EA, one of the few competent people left at the company. The response was polite, curt, and perfectly hollow. "Leadership is excited to see your strategic thinking in action. Feel free to be visionary." Visionary? She couldn't even get her printer to connect to the network. She requested access to resource tools, design software, testing environments, vendor contracts. IT replied that her project wasn't currently whitelisted for sandbox deployment. No estimated timeline to change that. Jessica sat in her chair and slowly exhaled through her nose. The air conditioning rattled above her like it was wheezing out sympathy. By week 2, she started submitting reports. Not because they were asked for, but because she needed to do something. A few slides here, a mock roadmap there. She even made up a fake competitor just to see if anyone was reading. She called it Nightingale AI, a synthetic data platform with buzzwords thick enough to choke a Gartner analyst. Not one person responded. She'd gone full Schrödinger's employee, both promoted and discarded. Then she saw the memo. A public all-hands note, thinly veiled corporate spin announcing team realignments to support agility and growth. Her old project, Phoenix, was being co-led by Taylor, a junior PM who once asked if UX design was like an art thing. Jessica's name erased. Not even a legacy shout-out. She stared at the screen like it was a personal obituary. She'd built Phoenix from a pitch deck and a prayer. She fought for funding, lobbied for cross-functional buy-in, and lost 3 straight weekends debugging the MVP herself when dev support dropped the ball. Now Taylor, who once cried because someone changed the Jira board color scheme, was getting the credit. The insult stung, but not as much as the implication. She'd been declared irrelevant. And worse, thought she wouldn't notice. She tried to act busy. Attended optional webinars just to hear another human voice. Spent an hour making a flowchart that literally said, right arrow innovation, right arrow $. Nobody blinked. She even emailed Dave a second time, asking politely, too politely, if there were any resources or milestones for Q2 he wanted her to hit. He responded 2 days later with, just keep ideating. Trust your instincts. That smiley face again, the corporate kiss of death. Jessica stopped wearing makeup. No one saw her. She ordered the same sad salad every day from the cafe downstairs, dressing on the side like even her lunch had started giving up. Her eyes hurt from fluorescent light. Her Slack stayed empty. She began to talk to the plants on the windowsill. Not full conversations, just small nods, they understood. One afternoon, she caught her reflection in the darkened screen of her laptop. It looked like a mugshot of a forgotten genius, and that's when it hit her. They hadn't sidelined her because she was incompetent. They sidelined her because she was dangerous. She had too many ideas, too much independence, and too many people respected her. That made Dave nervous. That made corporate itchy. So they didn't fire her, they caged her in silk, locked the door, and whispered, "You're lucky." She laughed again, this time with teeth. "Fine, you want her to sit? She'll sit. You want her to rot in this glass box? She'll rot. But she won't decay quietly. Because if no one's watching, no one can stop her from building something better." And she had plenty of time. It started with a thread on a forum she wasn't supposed to read. Some rinky-dink community site full of cranky users with bad usernames and worse grammar, but they were honest. Brutally, gloriously honest. Jessica had found the link buried deep in an old customer support ticket archive while trying to kill time without losing her mind. The post was from a user called TechRec97, and it read, "If I have to click through 5 F-seeking menus one more time just to pull a usage report, I'm gonna throw my laptop into traffic. Does no one at Jessica's company actually use this SHT?" She laughed, then kept reading. Over 600 replies, all echoing the same thing. Different words, same sentiment. The reporting system was a goddamn nightmare. The kicker? She'd raised that exact issue 3 years ago, wrote a whole slide deck about streamlining the UI. Dave told her it was not a priority and that they had bigger fish to fry. Well, apparently the fish were still frying and customers were eating dirt. The seed was planted before she even realized it. Not a business plan, not some grand scheme, just a problem, one that had haunted users for years, one her company could have fixed in a sprint and never bothered to. Jessica leaned back in her chair and let the idea settle. What if someone built a lightweight app, just one job done right? Not bloated with corporate add-ons or synergy enablers. Just a clean, intuitive interface that solved the one thing every user complained about. She wasn't thinking about revenue, or scale, or competitors. She just wanted to make it not suck. That night, she dug deeper. Poured herself a glass of wine, opened her personal laptop, not the company one, never the company one, and started researching APIs. Most of the data structures were public-facing. Hell, half the SDKs were open source. The more she read, the more pissed she got. It wouldn't even be hard. That was the insult. It wasn't impossible. It was just neglected. By midnight, she had a working outline, core features, user flow, basic backend architecture. She saved it all in an encrypted Google Drive account registered under an alias she hadn't used since college, JD Stone, a name she used to publish a Medium post once about bias in UX patterns. The next morning, she bought a domain, Simplify Appio, paid for it on her personal card, kept the receipt. She started a paper trail so tight it could survive a congressional subpoena. Every purchase, Figma templates, app icons, third-party APIs, went on her personal Amex. She took screenshots, filed emails, even recorded voice memos after each work session, noting date, time, and the fact that she was on her own Wi-Fi, not the company VPN. It wasn't just paranoia, it was self-defense. She'd seen what legal could do when they smelled IP ownership. Saw one dev get gutted over a side project he'd built after hours, but once used his work laptop to check a GitHub thread. Not her, she wasn't giving these clowns a single inch. At the office, she played the game. Still showed up on time, still wore business casual, still dropped into the occasional meaningless Zoom sync just to keep appearances. But at night, her real work began. She wasn't trying to burn the company down. Not yet, but the match was lit. She could already smell the smoke. Jessica stopped dreaming in words. Her brain now pulsed in snippets of Python, error logs, and UI frames. Days bled into nights like water into coffee grounds, bitter, dark, and wired with caffeine. By day, she wore the mask. Bland beige blouses, flat-voiced Zoom check-ins, endless loops of PowerPoint decks with invented milestones like evaluate cross-platform ideation, and align KPIs with scalable synergies. She'd learned to type entire paragraphs of corporate nothingness while simultaneously debugging API calls in her head. By night, she lived. She'd built the prototype of Simplify in 12 hellish weeks. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. She coded from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. most nights, fingers cramping around a mug of burnt coffee, background noise alternating between lo-fi hip-hop and motivational rants from washed-up tech founders on YouTube. Interface was clean, intentionally minimalist, almost Spartan. No bloated dashboards, no 10-click workflows, just pure, focused utility. To polish it, she hired freelancers. A dev from Estonia to optimize her front-end load speed. A UI designer from Buenos Aires who turned her napkin sketches into beautiful, clickable layouts. A voice actor in Portland who recorded the onboarding walkthrough in a calm, reassuring tone. Every invoice paid in full, every task documented, every contract signed through her LLC, hastily filed under the name Stoneforge Labs. Stoneforge, because she was building in the dark with her own two hands. There were moments of pure high when a new feature worked perfectly, when the beta finally didn't crash after a CSV import, when she ran her first automated test suite and the logs came back green. It felt like rebellion, like building a guillotine out of Lego, but it came with cost. She forgot her cousin's birthday, slept through brunch with her best friend, had a splitting migraine one morning and still dragged herself to the office, clutching a Red Bull like a holy relic. Her eyes were ringed with exhaustion, her knuckles stiff from typing. She was burning out and didn't care, because for the first time in months, her soul felt useful. Then came the near-death scare. It was a Thursday. She was in her office, testing a new integration with Google Sheets when the door swung open, no knock. Just the mechanical clunk of a corporate trader in Dockers. "Hey, Jessica," Dave chirped, way too cheerful for a man with the emotional range of a saltine. She nearly threw her personal laptop across the room. Instead, she slammed it shut, shoved it into a tote bag, and alt-tabbed to her work monitor so fast she sprained a finger. Up popped a half-finished slide titled Nightingale Vision Pillars Draft 4. Dave glanced at the screen and nodded like he understood a single word. "Just wanted to do a drop-by, see how things are going. We're all really excited to see your progress," he said, oozing with that HR-approved menace that always sounded like a threat gift-wrapped as encouragement. Jessica smiled, pushing boundaries every day. He looked around her office like he was casing the joint and pointed to a dead plant in the corner. "You should get that replaced. Optics matter." She promised herself that if Simplify ever went public, she'd put a picture of that plant on the IPO slide deck and title it Legacy Leadership. When Dave finally left, Jessica didn't breathe for a full minute. Her palms were slick with sweat. Her heart thudded like a bass drum against her ribs, too close. From that day on, she got stricter. Work laptop for show only. Personal one never left her tote unless her office door was locked and blinds were drawn. Files saved twice, once to the cloud, once to an encrypted USB drive hidden inside a hollowed-out lotion bottle in her purse. She wasn't just building anymore. She was evading, and strangely, thrillingly, she loved it. Every keystroke was a whisper, "You underestimated me." She couldn't say it out loud, but the code would. She launched it at 3:14 a.m., eyes bloodshot. Breath held, no champagne, no fanfare. Just a trembling finger hovering over the post button on a thread titled, "New tool to fix redacted Corpus broken reporting. Simplify beta now live." The username was anonymous. The email tied to the domain was routed through 3 layers of forwarding. The subreddit, obscure but active, haunts for the disillusioned, the DIY problem solvers, the power users tired of begging billion-dollar companies for a better UI. She logged off, walked around her apartment in circles, came back 10 minutes later, 12 upvotes, 30 minutes after that, 46 comments. By sunrise, over 1,000 users had downloaded the beta. She blinked at the analytics dashboard like it might be lying. CPU usage spiked. A server she was renting through a discount cloud provider nearly caught fire under the strain. She had to upgrade hosting tiers before breakfast. Then came the emails, not to her name but to the Stoneforge inbox. "Holy crap, this actually works. Finally someone fixed this. How the hell did you pull this off? Did you used to work for Redacted Corp? Because this feels like insider knowledge." Jessica sat frozen in her kitchen, still in yesterday's hoodie, watching her inbox flood with gratitude and disbelief. People didn't just like Simplify, they needed it. She barely slept that week. Not from work. Oh, there was still plenty of that, debugging crashes and issuing hotfixes, but from adrenaline. She was high on praise, on momentum, on the pure narcotic thrill of being right after being buried for so long. She refreshed the dashboard obsessively, at red lights, during lunch, even in the middle of one of Dave's soul-numbing Nightingale vision syncs, where he droned on about disruption waves and agile rescoping. Behind her corporate poker face, Jessica was checking DAUs and mapping retention curves. The numbers doubled every 3 days. One weekend, a write-up appeared on a mid-tier industry blog. Sick of waiting for Redacted Corp to fix their UI? Try Simplify, it's like they read our minds. It got reposted, retweeted. commented on by tech influencers with niche but loyal followings. One even called it the Zapier of corporate reporting. She didn't know whether to laugh or vomit. Then it happened. Buried in a company-wide marketing memo, slipped between Q3 projections and some nonsense about brand synergy, was a two-line blip. Noteworthy uptick in user churn traced to emerging competitor Simplify. Product appears to target key pain points in legacy systems. Attribution unclear, monitoring underway. Jessica reread the sentence 5 times. They noticed. They had no clue it was her, but they knew Simplify was real. Her hands shook, but not from confirmation. She was no longer just a disgruntled employee with a grudge. She was a threat, a silent one, a ghost in their system, and the empire that sidelined her? It had just felt its first tremor. It was a Tuesday when everything exploded. Jessica was half listening to Dave pontificate during their weekly Nightingale sync, which by now was a theater of the absurd. Today's topic, whether they should pivot Nightingale into a data storytelling initiative, whatever the hell that meant. She was discreetly scrolling through her phone under the table when her notifications lit up like a Christmas tree dipped in gasoline. A YouTube alert. A tech influencer she followed, Lex Byte, real name unknown, known for savage reviews and meme-level virality, had dropped a video titled, "This $0 app fixed what Redacted Corp couldn't in 5 years." Jessica's stomach dropped, not from fear, from impact. She clicked. Lex, hoodie-clad and caffeinated, was walking viewers through Simplify's interface, calling it elegant, stupidly smart, and the kind of thing you hope was built by someone who got screwed over at a big company and finally snapped. The comments were rabid, the likes skyrocketed. Her app's signups doubled in under 4 hours, and then her servers collapsed. She scrambled into dev mode, deploying backup instances, buying more bandwidth, calling her Estonian front-end dev at 2 a.m. his time. Everyone moved fast. Within 6 hours, Simplify was back online and with 5 times the user base it had that morning. By Wednesday, industry blogs were writing headlines like, "Simplify, the app eating redacted Corpus lunch." Who built Simplify? Rumors swirl around mysterious competitor. Simplify goes thermonuclear, legacy saw S-giant caught off guard. And by Thursday, Jessica found herself sitting in a glass-walled conference room at headquarters, watching her own app projected on a screen, while Dave, looking like a man who'd just found termites in his Tesla, barked out orders to deconstruct their entire UX pipeline. "It's sleek," he admitted, choking on the word. "They're solving for friction points we've deprioritized. We need a rapid task force. I want daily reports. And if anyone finds out who built this thing, I want legal ready to move." Jessica smiled. Internally. Outwardly she nodded, took notes, played the role, even offered a completely fabricated theory that Simplify might be a VC-backed Trojan horse. They ate it up. She watched a junior analyst fumble through a competitive benchmarking slide comparing Simplify to their own product. The analyst noted that Simplify's interface felt like it was designed by someone who actually uses reporting tools. Jessica nearly choked on her coffee. That night, the company sent out a soft warning email from IT. Reminder, any development of external applications during work hours, using company resources, or involving competitive overlap must be disclosed. This includes any use of APIs, dev platforms, or cloud infrastructure tied to work credentials. Translation, they were scared, and they were starting to hunt. The internal security team was on it now. She heard whispers, people being checked in on, code audits being quietly run on company-issued machines, even one junior dev who had a GitHub repo frozen just because it had reporting in the name. Jessica was clean, obsessively so. Her tracks were covered in layers of plausible deniability and encrypted timestamps. But the pressure was building. She wasn't a ghost anymore. She was a phantom limb, something they could feel but couldn't identify, twitching where power used to be. The irony? They'd boxed her out to silence her voice. Now they couldn't shut her up if they tried. She sat in silence, watching panic bloom in the boardroom like mold behind wallpaper. The hunted had become the hunter, and they still didn't know her name. They found her on a Friday. Fitting, really. Corporate assassinations always seem to happen before the weekend, gives HR time to clean the blood off the carpet before Monday. Wasn't a public call. No email, no invite. Just a calendar block that appeared like a tumor in her Outlook. Private 1 p.m. C-suite 14th floor. No description, no attendees listed, but Jessica knew. She dressed like she was attending her own trial. Dark blazer, no jewelry, clean lines, no panic. She walked through the elevator lobby like a woman about to close on beachfront property, not stand accused of corporate treason. Inside the glass tomb of the executive boardroom sat 3 men, the CEO, legal counsel, and Dave, looking like he'd just been told his Peloton subscription had been revoked. The CEO cleared his throat. "Jessica, thank you for joining us. This is, admittedly, a delicate conversation." She said nothing, just sat. Let them squirm in the silence. Legal jumped in. "It's come to our attention that the application known as Simplify has been traced in part. Network log activity and metadata involving your work credentials." Dave added, "There's a clause in your employment contract, Section 4B. Intellectual property, anything developed during the period of your employment may fall under company ownership if it overlaps with our market." Jessica reached into her tote bag, calm as a surgeon, and placed a thick manila folder on the table. Receipts, screenshots, email chains, timestamps, cloud access logs, every freelance contract, every software license tied to her LLC, every cent paid with her card, logged with forensic precision. "Gentlemen," she said, voice smooth as ice over gasoline, "I anticipated this. You'll find notarized statements from contractors, location track development logs, and full separation of company property and personal resources." Dave paled. The CEO picked up a paper, flipped a few pages, and frowned like a man realizing the rope he was holding wasn't connected to a noose, but a noose that looped around his own neck. Jessica didn't wait. She pulled out a second paper and slid it across the table. "My resignation, effective immediately. Signed, dated, printed at home, by the way." Legal opened his mouth, some flailing reflex about arbitration, but she cut him off. "You sidelined me, isolated me, buried me under fluff and false praise hoping I'd fade out. But what you actually gave me was time. And in that time, I built something better than anything this company has touched in 5 years." Her gaze cut to Dave. "You tried to make me disappear. Instead, you made me dangerous." The CEO spoke, voice tight. "You understand what this means for the company, right? The exposure, the optics," she smiled. "I understand exactly what it means." She stood, gathered her bag, and walked to the door. No theatrics, no last look, just a vibrating phone in her pocket. She checked it once she hit the elevator. Milestone reached, 5,123 active users. Congrats, her app now had more users than the company's flagship product. She slipped the phone back in her bag, stepped into the elevator, and as the doors slid shut behind her, she didn't smile. She exhaled. The cage had opened, and she wasn't just walking out. She was walking away with the keys. It was raining in Lisbon when Jessica finalized the funding round. Not storming, just that soft, steady kind of drizzle that makes the streets shine and your brain slow down for the first time in months. She sat outside a cafe with her laptop, sipping an espresso that tasted like defiance and dark chocolate, and signed the final paperwork to close a $12 million seed round for Simplify. No board meetings. No Dave. No slide decks about value ecosystems. Just her vision, and a group of investors smart enough not to ask stupid questions. She didn't wear makeup anymore. Didn't need to. Her face carried that kind of glow you only get after surviving something that should have killed you, but didn't. Instead, it made you powerful. Simplify had crossed 7 million active users. They were onboarding enterprise clients now. Entire departments were jumping ship from her old company, some of them reaching out directly, offering to beta test new features, build integrations, evangelize. She gave some of them jobs, not out of pity, out of memory. They remembered what she was worth before the exile. Her phone buzzed, a familiar number. Chris PM from her old team. Solid guy, quiet rebel. Emergency town hall today. Utter chaos. CEO was trying to talk about navigating market shifts, and I swear to God, his voice cracked and he was tearing up. "You're a legend here." Oh, and Dave was fired. Security badge didn't work this morning. He went nuclear in the lobby. Jessica stared at the screen for a long second, not smiling exactly, just absorbing. She pictured the marble lobby. Dave, red-faced, slamming his badge against the scanner like it owed him money. The CEO, standing in front of an entire company trying to explain why their market share had vanished like smoke from a dumpster fire. She imagined the interns, the engineers, the analysts, all watching, all knowing. She did that, and she didn't need applause. The echo was enough. She replied, "Tell the team I said thanks, and good luck with the storytelling initiative." Chris responded with a crying laugh emoji, followed by a gif of someone lighting a cigar with a $100 bill. Jessica closed her phone, opened her laptop again. There were meetings to schedule, features to plan. She was in talks with a nonprofit about making a free version for educators. She just hired her 10th engineer. People were talking about an IPO, but not now, not today. Today was for rain and espresso and finally being left alone to build something worth a damn. No more closets, no more silence. Just her and the world wide open.